Welcome back, guys. Question: have you been feeling the VUCA-ness of today's world? VUCA, V-U-C-A, stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It's a term that's often used to describe times of great instability. And if you've been experiencing these feelings, you're not alone. Today, two things are converging. Ray Dalio recently wrote an article called Why We're on the Brink of Great Disorder. He dives into three key factors which describe why the world is about to enter into great turmoil. This, coupled with one of the questions that I was asked on a recent podcast where someone asked me, what is the current state of affairs of the world? You're coaching leaders across the world. What is the key thing that you're learning? What are the consistent things that you see across the board? Let's dive further in to this today. For those that already know Ray, you know he's a really interesting character. For those that don't, let me quickly do the honors. He's the founder of Bridgewater, one of the world's largest hedge funds. Interestingly, his journey into finance began after he had a disagreement with his own boss and ended up actually punching him in the face. He was a little drunk at the time. Don't take this as career advice because this did lead to his termination. However, that was the moment in time that then forced him to let go of something that wasn't serving him, and he became the founder of Bridgewater. Bridgewater has experienced an incredible amount of success as a hedge fund, and underpinning that, Ray, if you want to find out more about him, one of my favorite books that I would love to recommend is Principles, because what sets Ray apart is the unorthodox way, I would say, that he looks at the world. He pays a particular amount of attention to history and where humanity has been, especially when it comes to economics and finances over time. And he does seek parallels between current events, current state of affairs, and where we've previously been, enabling us to draw lessons to learn from past experiences. So in this recent article called Why We're on the Brink of Great Disorder, Ray highlights three critical factors that deeply concern him. These three factors haven't occurred simultaneously since the 1930s, and the first one is soaring debt and inflation. The second one is the historical distance between income and wealth gaps between people in society. And thirdly, the great powers of the world, the US and China, now flirting with this potential world war coming up, which, touch wood, doesn't happen, but it is a sign of the times, and Ray discusses this in great length in his article. I will link that below. He goes on to say that history often repeats itself, and in the 1930s there was a great world war, and we are poised at a similar cusp, and we are on the brink of great disorder. Now, I totally agree, and for those that have checked out my video on the 4 levels of consciousness, I'll link it just here for you to go check out if you haven't already. You'll know that there are 4 levels of consciousness, and you also know that I have challenges with the word levels, but ideally we'd look at it as a spectrum, but there are 4 levels of consciousness. The first one being life is happening to me, where you're the victim. Life in level 2 is happening by me, which is I'm the achiever. Yeah, there's a great level of order there. And in the 3rd level of consciousness, life is happening for me, or life is happening through me. And this is level 3 consciousness. And it is all about flow, which is also surrender. Yeah, and then level 4, the ultimate level, is life is happening as me. You are unity consciousness. Now, it's interesting that Ray is highlighting that we're on the brink of great disorder, because as I've been coaching people recently as well, and this was the question that I was asked in the podcast, which is, what is unanimous across all these people that you're coaching at the moment? And I would say 80% of the leaders that I'm coaching have been amazing achievers and are incredible achievers in their own right, and have been for quite an extended period of time. However, what's happening now is they're realizing that even though they've achieved a whole bunch of stuff, they are feeling quite hollow, quite empty, quite sapped. The energetics of what they've been up to does not fuel them, does not drive them. Even though they've achieved remarkable things from the outside looking in, from the inside feeling out, it doesn't feel wholesome. It doesn't feel rich. They don't feel fulfilled. The reason I think this is happening is, all I can say is, I think the world, like Ray puts it, is on the brink of great disorder. And what I think is happening, we are going through a collective evolution. We are collectively breaking through from level 2 consciousness. It's a more masculine world in level 2 consciousness, order, versus level 3 consciousness, which is much more feminine. It's surrender. It's surrendering to the chaos. And therefore we can see that the patriarchy is actually dying. I actually think the world is going through a spiritual shift right now. Some people would talk about the age of Aquarius that's coming up and how we're going through a shift. You can look at the practical nature of the world. the patriarchy is slowly dissolving and giving way to a matriarchy. I think oftentimes people are misluded that they think the patriarchy has to disintegrate for the matriarchy to come through. But actually what I think it is, the patriarchy has to stand even taller and stronger to support the pillars of the feminine uprising that is coming through. But we are on this uprising where we're collectively going through this level 2 control order. We are on the brink of great disorder, but it's actually not a disintegration. I think it's an up-leveling. I can feel it. We're all feeling the challenges of it. And most of us can feel that it's either going to make us or break us as a species, right? And I continue to believe, ever the optimist, that we're about to break through. So the big question that breeds itself is, what does the future actually look like? What does a feminine future, a future beyond order, really look like? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think it looks like. When I say masculine, the masculine energy is the free energy of freedom, right? And the feminine energy is the energy of love. So the world has been operating on an operating system based on freedom, and now it's up-leveling into an operating system based on love. So there is a massive shift coming through, and it is challenging for some of the men in this time as the world becomes more and more operating by love, where more and more men are actually still operating from a place of freedom. And therefore you see this rise on the side as like a little side note. Masculinity coaching is becoming this widespread thing that I see in the world right now. But it's kind of ironic to some degree, because in the past, we just learnt from role models. We had avatars, we had archetypes that we would look up to, that we would live into. But in this new world, which is now being feminine led, right? And it's calling in this uprising. It's calling in this up-leveling. The masculine is finding it difficult to find its new path in the world of disorder, in the world of surrender. What does that person that is operating from a place primarily of order and freedom, how do they find themselves in the world of love? It's a very interesting place to be. But I will say that when you read articles such as Ray's, it does leave some room for you to start feeling like the world is falling apart. Those that have been on a spiritual journey for quite some time, we often know that breakdown has to happen for breakthrough. I've asked again and again on the podcast some of the greatest speakers in the world, why is this the process? Why must we break down to break through? But it shows up again and again. It is the formula. It is the way the universe is wired, touch wood, in some way. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through to its end. Obviously, these insights are inspiring your evolution, and that means the world to me. Right here is the very next best video for you to watch that will keep your inspiration flowing, keep you evolving, and keep you guessed it, going. Check it out now.